Hey guys, welcome to the Go Mango Anime Cast. Today we'll be reviewing Violet Evergarden Episode 6. I'm your host, Makotoa, and with me today we have...
The Cinder Blaze.
Ooh, so... If anyone remembers, which I'm sure some of our viewers do, there was a cliffhanger last episode. And, we didn't actually get any of that. We didn't touch on it at all. But at the same time, I'm only mentioning this now because I don't believe myself or Alex noticed, or during the episode, I didn't realize that for some reason. I didn't remember it. So this episode started and it just did its own episodic thing like it seemingly has been for the past couple of episodes, and I just went along with it. And then it was only later that I was like, oh wait, that's right, we left on a cliffhanger. What happened?
Yeah, at the beginning of the episode, I think when Violet Evergarden was looking down, and then when she goes and meets with her old classmates,
Yeah.
she was still kind of down and stuff, and hey, what happened, what's wrong? And she's like, oh, nothing, stuff like that. So it definitely happened, and I was the aftermath of it. It just it didn't launch an entirely new arc where she has to deal with that conflict.
They better go back to that. That is really dumb if they tease it and they don't actually show it. It's okay. It didn't bother me much that we didn't touch on it this episode because I did very much enjoy this episode. But we need to go back to that. You've teased this now. You can't just leave us hanging forever.
Yeah. But yeah, as you kind of said, while I was watching the episode, I kind of forgot about that because the premise for this episode was kind of hilarious. When it first introduced the whole thing where all the otter dolls came in
yeah,
they all migrated towards this giant ass library,
and on the top of a mountain too, this auditorium,
you can't see anything outside of the thing except the stars. But once they get there, they're paired off with the scribes. It's this giant
dating thing.
Yeah, that's probably the better way to describe it. I was thinking more of a mating ritual thing.
Oh my god.
It's they all gather at this giant library and they're just separated off.
Yeah.
Transcribing books. But this ain't Darling in the Franxx, so there's no sexual innuendos there.
Yeah.
It was hilarious.
Interesting premise. I was not expecting this to be a means by which Violet would run into her old classmates again. It was kind of cool that it happened this way.
Yeah.
We got introduced to this scribe guy who was difficult to determine his gender at first.
Yeah. Do you remember his name? Just by
oh shoot.
Well, for those of you who are listening right now, we're talking about the dude with the long hair that was really pessimistic towards this start of the episode. He's those otter dolls, they're just here to marry into rich families and stuff. Or not here to marry into rich families, but
it's just what they're doing their job for. That's all they want, they care about.
Yeah. And he's super nervous around women and all that stuff, which at first I was oh, look at this edgy ass character, he's just being that way just so we have a conflict. But when we go back to his backstory, it actually makes sense that he's this way with women. So, considering his mom left him to go find his father, he probably has a lot of trust issues regarding that gender.
It makes sense that my mom would love him more, but was it really the best idea to do that to your child? He said that himself in the episode at one point. It's yeah, that probably messed you up.
And yo, I'm your kid.
Yeah.
Come on, Mom.
I kind of I didn't like him at first. I know we discussed this and that you didn't either, but he starts to grow on you because well, there's multiple reasons, but
Yeah, like my primary reason for liking him so much over the course of the episode. At first, I was just like, super moody, but like all of his like emotions were like genuine. They came from like an honest like place. They all made sense, and like when he was like thinking of Violet and like things she said, like the as you said, call them the bully scribes, the ones that were like trying to hit on Violet, like, hey, come hang out with us, not that scrub. And then she kind of like sticks up for him in her own,
in her own mechanical way.
Yeah, like she probably wasn't really sticking up for him. She wasn't really considering that all too much,
right?
But
it sort of ended up going that way, and that's all he needed to hear, was that she wasn't going. Like, I like the part where they're trying to defame him by saying he's just some weird orphan, he doesn't even know what his parent, he's never his parents dropped him off here or something like that and left him, and it's like, I've never even seen my parents, so what's the point? Like, what's your point? It's just, this is just like
guys, I think we lost here. We should just leave.
We're not getting through to this girl. Yeah. I like the interactions that they had when they were doing the scribe work.
Yeah, like even like the scribe work, the way that they were kind of like, or the way that, like, Violet was keeping up to pace, even though he was just trying to go super fast, just
just like an a-hole too. Like, it's like, okay, would you be able to keep up with yourself if you were the one writing? I wonder.
Yeah, so like he's trying to like distract himself from like, Violet herself. So he just wants to like go full throttle on the work. And he's like, well, if she can't do it, then like what is she even doing here? She's just kind of like, he wants to build some negative thoughts around her, but she's kind of like deflecting all of that.
Yeah.
Like parrying it perfectly, and he's just like
you were saying with the when she takes off her gloves and shows the metal hands, when he was like trying to think bad things about her or something, be mean to her, and then it was just like, now he feels bad.
Yeah, I remember like just messaging you in the middle of the episode about like all those tiny gripes and stuff.
Yeah,
but like that's something that's happened in like every episode of like Violet Evergarden.
Someone says something to her, and then she takes her gloves off, and their perspective changes.
Yeah, and it's getting a bit old right now, but like that's something I'll forgive for the rest of the episode, just being like just good.
Yeah. There was the observatory stuff. I think the most we got out of development for Violet is that she got to talk to him, and she didn't understand what loneliness was, and it kind of, it felt like it proved my point from the last review, where it was like, she can imitate what someone who has feelings would say, but she doesn't understand the feelings herself. She can only emulate them, and it was proven in this episode when she was saying, I understand like the symptoms of loneliness. I understand that people have these experiences or whatever, but I can't feel it myself. I don't know what it feels like,
Yeah, and like it really helps in this kind of like slice of life, or it's not really a slice of life anime. It's more of like an episodic thing where she's kind of like slowly discovering herself.
Yeah.
When like the character of the week, so to speak, like actually has a problem, and we can kind of see, how he like not developed with loneliness, but like how he like adapted to it, and how he kind of like, it's the word's not coming to me. It starts to see, I think, but the way that loneliness shaped him, and kind of like contrasting it to how it did with like Violet Evergarden, like her situation, but she doesn't like actually understand the loneliness. Yeah. So he kind of has to like use his backstory to kind of help her learn her own stuff, which kind of reminds me a lot of like Naruto.
Oh yeah. Right.
Yeah.
I think he was asking her questions like, do you think often of him when you're alone, or something like that, right? It was this almost like prescription test. It's like, do you feel pain in your lower back? You know,
Yeah, like he's
every
a
time you
psychologist.
when you get up, do you know does it hurt or whatever, stuff like that. It was this checklist and she was like, yes, actually, yeah, all the time. And he's like, yeah, you experience loneliness.
She's like, yeah, that sounds about right.
She's like, whoa. So this is what loneliness feels like. Like she learned a new emotion. It's like, I don't know if you ever played the Animal Crossing games, but like,
Nope.
you can like, there's these little emotions that you can get that you can't use until you go to this theater and watch some guy do a skit, and he's like a comedian and he does a skit for each and every different like emotion, and then after that you get to like have the option of using that emotion in like in your everyday gameplay, so you can have your character be expressive in different things. And it's like Violet Evergarden, she just got the emotion loneliness, it's like
that's absolutely fantastic.
but
like Violet was also she wasn't the only one who kind of grew from this episode.
yeah,
Like I don't know why I want to call like the dude Quenther. It's probably from that one show, A Heavy Object, kind of stuck in my mind.
oh my god.
But described with the long hair, he like genuinely kind of like fell in love with her at the end of it, and he was kind of like he's moving past his past.
Yeah.
Like he kind of like didn't like the way like his mother just kind of ditched him as a kid to go find his father, but like now he's kind of like he's kind of like discovering himself, and he's like, you know what, I actually want to go and do the stuff like my father was doing. I kind of want to like break out of this shell that he kind of made for himself. Like
he said that like he was staying there this whole time because he was still like holding on to hope that his mother would eventually return.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So he kind of because of Evergarden and her convictions and stuff, like it started at the beginning of the episode. We heard his voice kind of do is it a monologue? It's where his voice kind of tells the story at the beginning as like a third party or something looking back, and he was like, before I thought this and that of memory dolls, but then she came into my life. That was something like that, right? And
I don't think that happened, but it might have.
And no, but like by the end of the episode, he had it too.
Oh yeah,
he was.
I remember
kind of like
end.
Yeah, the end for sure. After like he was saying his farewells to her and like,
Yeah, like that also mirrored the situation with his parents, where he kind of understood like the love his mother had for his father, where he would want to go like venture out into the world in hopes of meeting Violet again. I was like, that's like a little poetic way to kind of tie it all together.
Even think about that.
Yeah, there's also like the story with like the elves and stuff like that, where the end isn't really an end. It just kind of gets reincarnated in another form that kind of lasts forever. Which, like, even though he might never see Violet ever again, just like their meeting, it affected him in a way that like continues on like living inside of him. So that was like a really neat way to kind of like wrap up the episode. Just everything just kind of tied in together.
Yeah.
Except for the etc. love stories with his roommate and that one chick. I was actually kind of interested in like those ones.
Yeah.
But this is Violet Evergarden. Who cares too much about those ones?
Yeah, it was nice to see them, but I wasn't expecting us to get too much with them.
Yeah, and I kind of expected like the other people from Evergarden's kind of like workplace to be there, but I guess it was just the noobs. Don't know why they would send the noobs to transcribe important documents unless they weren't.
Yeah, go figure. It was just Violet. Maybe everyone else was busy with some other task, but yeah. It gave her an opportunity to be with the guy alone, rather than hanging out with her friends the whole time, I guess.
Yeah.
But
And that was a real sweet date that they had.
yeah.
It was a bit one-sided, but
Wait a minute, Violet. I think you're in love. Hey, look at that comment. It's so amazing right now. That moment.
Yo, I hope the Colonel isn't dead. Like, I know he's dead.
Yeah.
I think he's dead. I don't know.
It's hard
Technology
to
is so
yeah.
ambiguous that he could technically
I
be
get the
alive.
feeling he might be in the coma or something. But yeah, I don't know.
Like, part of me hopes that we don't like go back to the Colonel like ever, because I couldn't handle the heartbreak.
Just so you can still dream, you can still hope.
Yeah, as long as we don't see him, he's technically still alive.
Yeah, you can.
Or he's technically not dead.
He's technically not dead. Exactly.
Yeah.
But I mean, yeah, good stuff. Episode 6. Any final thoughts?
No, this was probably one of my favorite episodes of the series so far.
For sure. I agree. All right, you heard it, guys. We really liked the episode. If you did too, let us know. Or if you didn't, let us know. Give us a like if you liked it, the video. And we got social medias down in the description. Feel free to give us a follow if you want to hear more from us. We're going to be doing Violet Evergarden reviews until the show is over, whenever that day may come, along with like Darling in the Franxx and Boruto. So if you enjoy those, you can keep up with us for those as well. At any rate, I think we're good here. So see you guys next time.
Yeah, see ya.